This is the walkthrough video for PCTC 2022, round 2, question 4, typing tutor. Okay, so this question is where it actually gets like properly difficult. So we're given a series of pairs of words, and we need to figure out if the words don't match. We need to figure out what letters in those words don't match. But more importantly, if the letters that don't match are at the end of the word, then we have to follow these separate rules and print out an underscore and whatever. So we'll tackle this step by step, and hopefully it should be doable. Okay, so we need to create an infinite loop because we're continuously inputting pairs of words. And let's input our words. Let's call it W1 for word 1 and W2 for word 2. That's going to be our input. We're going to split our input so that our two words are now like these, and that there's in the variables W1 and W2. So now the easy bit. If they're the same, then we just continue, right? We just continue this infinite loop until they're not the same. And so if they're not the same, then this line is going to be run. Right, so if they're not the same, let's say we want to go through both of those words and try and identify any letters that don't match. So let's try and calculate the min length. So min length is going to be the minimum of the length of word 1 and then the length of word 2. So we're basically getting whichever word has the shortest length. And the reason we're doing that is for this for loop. So for I in range min L, we then want to compare. So this is going to get the indices of each point in the word, of each of those two words. And we want to compare the character at that index of word 1 with the character at that index of word 2. And so that's going to be word 1 I. So if word 1 I is not equal word 2 I, so if at a given index the characters aren't the same, for example here in this example, P and H are both index 3 and the characters are not the same, so this code would be run. Then let's say we want to print out well, those two characters. That's easy enough, so let's do that. Print that out and then print that out. And let's just break out of this for loop because we're done. We're done printing out everything we want, so we can break out of it. But here comes the caveat, which is that if the missing letter is at the end of one of the words, then we need to follow this output syntax instead. And this code won't actually catch any characters that are missing off the end because we've chosen to only go up to the index of the minimum length of our two words. And that's just so we avoid any syntax issues or runtime issues, because if we index I for one of our words, but I is like bigger than the length of the word itself, then the Python is going to get confused, right? Because that index does not exist, and that's why we have to use the minimum length in our for loop. Okay, so what we can do is we can use the for else structure, and you may not have seen this. What it basically does is if after your for loop you then add an else block, this block is only run if you didn't break out of the for loop. So here we did break out of the for loop, which means if we've already found a mismatch, then this code is not run. So this code is only run if we haven't found a mismatch. And in other words, this code is run if the mismatch is at the end of the word, which is the case we want to deal with now. And so what we can do is we've already got min length, so we can figure out whether min length represents the length of word 1 or word 2. So if len word 1 is equal to min length, so if word 1 is the shorter one, then we know the first character we need to print off is the underscore, because this is the short word. This is the word that doesn't contain all the correct characters. And the next character we need to print off is the character that we're meant to have in word 1, that's in word 2. So that's going to be whatever the min length is. And then we can repeat that. Let's just put an elif there. And actually we can just make that an else. And instead of this order, because this time we're saying word 2 is a short one, so the underscore has to go afterwards because the underscore represents the word 2 missing out a letter. And here, instead of word 2, let's take word 1 and we'll print that off. And in both cases, we actually want to break out of the while loop. So at the end of this, let's just put a break. So yeah, there are a couple of harder things about this one. So firstly, the reason I was using min L over here and over here is because we need to find the first character that is in one of the words but not in the other word. And so if that character is at the end of the word, then the index, for example, the index of this S in crisps is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is index 5. And 5 is the same number as what is the length of the shortest of these two words, right? This word is 5 letters long, and at index 5 of this word is where we see the missing letter. So that's a subtlety that you may not have noticed. And the second thing to point out is this break that we added right at the end of our program, this breaks out of the overall infinite while loop because we have to break out of the infinite loop. You can't have infinite loops, that's not good. So we have to break out of it. And the reason we put it there is this code is only actually ever run. So this code is only ever actually run if the words don't match. So if the words do match, then this code is run and we restart and we go back to the start of the while loop. So these like 5 lines are only ever run if the two words match. And the second they don't match, then all of this is run, which means the break runs if and only if the words don't match.